Let's go to the SEC championship. LSU taking on Georgia. Georgia is, I think they're currently sitting at 17 and a half, 18-point favorite, over under 51. This game is Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern on CBS, Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta. For what it's worth, Georgia wins this game. They're going to obviously be the 1 seed. They will play again in the same stadium on a quote-unquote neutral site for the third time this year. They played Oregon. Now they're playing the SEC to start the year. They're playing the SEC championship, and then they would play their first playoff game there as well. You would think that they're going to have the home field advantage here. And they're already in the playoff no matter what happens here. Part of this handicap was like motivation, but I actually do think that they will care. And they're not going to be bored. A lot of it, like Georgia this year, is boredom. Like Kentucky, Georgia Tech, Missouri, they just didn't look as engaged. I think they know how good they are. They've clearly proved that they're the best team in the country. But this is kind of the one thing that Smart hasn't gotten here. And like when I was reading about their veteran safety, Chris Smith, who was talking about, how bad that Georgia wants us. He's been a part of 4 SEC East winning teams. 4. And he hasn't won an SEC championship yet. They lost in 2018, 2019, and 2021. And this is his 4th SEC East title. So, and then look, if they win this game, then they lock up the 1 seed. They get to play here again next week, and you presumably get the easiest opponent. But I think they actually do care, and they lost the SEC championship last year. So I think that you'll get a spirited effort from Georgia. LSU, meanwhile, comes in limping, literally and figuratively, after losing by 2 touchdowns at Texas A&M corpse. Jaden Daniels' status is in doubt, and if he can't move, it's bad news. And then you're going to have Garrett Nussmeier, and I don't think this is the game where you want the gunslinger coming in for like the first real time in a while, trying to chuck it against this Georgia secondary. And if Daniels can't move, like his average depth of target is small. It's like he's going to fire short passes to beat this Georgia D. Can't run on them. And I do think that Georgia will have success running on this LSU defense. I think it's Georgia or nothing, and I think that LSU is going to get blown out here if Daniels is not healthy and can't move. I mean, you could have Nussmeier in who just hits some crazy throws, but he also could just get you buried quick. I think it's Georgia or nothing here. What do you say?
I absolutely think you're going to get a spirited squad out of Georgia. I don't think there's going to be any boredom here, and it's not because they're playing in the SEC title game. It's because Kirby Smart played Brian Kelly in Notre Dame back in 2019, and they struggled that entire game and pulled off a 6-point victory. Brian Kelly had every answer in the world for that Georgia team back in 2019. There's no way that Kirby Smart is not rolling that film and telling the players, like, listen, this, if we don't come out there with the right attitude, we're going to get buried. And he can convince his team that that's going to happen, despite a point spread being 18 and a half. It absolutely could happen. I think the 2 big things for me, I love the over in this game for 2 reasons. One, Jaden Daniels he's a pocket passer. I mean, if he's in a walking boot, he doesn't look like he's going to be able to execute the zone read. Georgia might blow that up anyways from an edge perspective. And considering the kind of beef that they have on a defensive interior, Jaden Daniels might turn into a pocket passer in this game from his health and from the Georgia defense. Whether he's successful or not, that equals more possessions. That equals quicker getting down the field, could equal pick sixes, could equal turnovers. I mean, there's all kinds of things what happens when LSU becomes one-dimensional and Jaden Daniels isn't able to run. So for that instance, I think there's going to be more possessions. Now, for the Georgia side of the ball, Kirby was not really vocal about what they're going to do against LSU, but he did talk about what they're going to do to Harold Perkins. And when asked about, hey, Harold Perkins is a freak, what are you going to do about this guy? He said, it's our job to make sure and put him in mismatches the entire game. Well, Harold Perkins is 6'3", 200 pounds, quicker than snot, right? What are the 2 mismatches on that field that he can't keep up with? Because if you go to PFF and you look at Harold Perkins' grading, he's been terrible in coverage. It's been getting worse every week. He was targeted 5 times by Texas A&M. He's been targeted 3 to 5 times by almost every team over the last 5 weeks. All of them have been catches, and all of them have been big gains. So wherever Harold Perkins is lining up, it doesn't matter if it's zone or if it's man. And considering the position that he plays, I guarantee they're going to try to find one-on-one matchups with Brock Bowers and Darnell Washington and expose Harold Perkins from a passing perspective. Because I've said this for weeks. Harold Perkins is he looks like a Roquan Smith out there. We could go from sideline to sideline in 2 seconds, right? If you want to get into a
Yeah.
lateral game with LSU, you're going to lose. You want to go downfield, you're going to beat them. And if you're going to go downfield, you're going to clip this 51 total easily. So for reasons on both sides of the ball, I like the over. Do I think Georgia's going to win? Absolutely. Brian Kelly's going to have a great game plan, maybe a grind through the scripted portion of the game up through the second quarter. But yeah, Georgia is here to absolutely roll.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, overs have been a pretty good bet in the SEC. We talked about that, I think, earlier this week on the new BCS. You get these SEC athletes on the fast track here in Atlanta, and you're going to get some explosive plays. Yeah, but I do agree with you that the pace will pick up with LSU, which likes to, Daniels and his legs are such an important part of the offense. If he's having to throw it more, and then look, if he's limited and ineffective, then they're going to bring in Nussmeier, and they're just going to be throwing it at such a higher rate that will slow the game down. Will slow the clock up. Clock's going to be stopping way more frequently, and then lead to added possession. So I agree with you there. Yeah, I think it's Georgia or nothing.